My dear friends, life often places us at a crossroad. The path of faith or the path of fear. Every woman, in every role she carries, as a daughter, a mother, a sister, a leader, or simply as herself, faces moments of uncertainty. And in those moments, the question arises, will I allow fear to paralyze me, or will I let faith guide me forward? Fear is natural. It whispers in our ears, what if you fail? What if you're judged? What if the world turns its back on you? But faith, on the other hand, whispers something entirely different. It says, even if the world doubts you, there is strength within you. Even if the road is dark, light will emerge. Even if you stumble, you will rise again. Choosing faith over fear doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means embracing courage despite them. Think of women who took steps into unknown territory, who challenged traditions, who raised their voices against injustice, who stood firm in love and compassion when hatred tried to break them down. They were not fearless, they were faithful, and faith gave them wings. Faith tells us that storms may shake us, but they cannot break us. Fear builds walls, faith builds bridges. Fear limits possibilities, faith creates them. When women choose faith, they not only empower themselves, but also ignite hope in others. Faith transforms an individual's life, and through her, transforms families, societies, and even nations. So, the call is simple. Don't allow fear to dictate your life. Let faith be the compass. Let resilience be your path. And let hope be your destination. Because when women choose faith over fear, miracles are not just believed in, they are lived. Faith empowers women to rise above limitations, while fear keeps them bound. This simple truth has echoed through time in the lives of countless women, from ordinary households to grand stages of history. When fear dominates, it chains the heart with invisible ropes, whispering, you cannot, you should not, you must not. Fear thrives in the language of impossibility. It magnifies weaknesses, amplifies insecurities, and locks the door to potential. But faith, that quiet, steady conviction, holds the power to unlock those doors and allow women to walk into spaces they never imagined they belonged. Think of a woman who dreams of pursuing her education in a place where society tells her it is unnecessary. Fear will remind her of failure, of judgment, of rejection. It will point out the many barriers standing before her. But faith will gently remind her of her worth, of the purpose she carries, of the gifts hidden within her. Faith whispers, even if you stumble, you will learn. Even if the world doubts you, keep walking, because the seed of greatness is already planted within you. Limitations are not always external. Often, they exist within the mind. Many women live with unspoken boundaries, ideas that they are not capable, not intelligent enough, not strong enough. These inner barriers are the heaviest to overcome because they are built by years of conditioning and reinforced by constant comparisons. Fear feeds these beliefs, making the walls taller and harder to climb. But faith, even as small as a mustard seed, has the strength to dismantle these walls brick by brick. Faith says, you are not defined by what you fear. You are defined by what you believe. When women choose faith, they rise beyond these mental shackles. They begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles. They begin to recognize their talents instead of dwelling on shortcomings. Faith does not promise a smooth journey, but it promises strength for every step. And with every small act of courage, faith grows stronger while fear loses its grip. Look at the lives of women who have changed the course of history. Leaders, reformers, educators, mothers who raised generations of thinkers and change makers. Were their lives free of fear? Certainly not. They too were filled with uncertainties. But the difference was in what they chose to hold on to. Instead of bowing to fear, they clung to faith. That faith gave them resilience to endure hardships, clarity to see beyond challenges, and determination to keep going when the world tried to silence them. Faith empowers women not only to rise above personal limitations, but also to inspire others to rise with them. One woman's choice to believe becomes a torch that lights the path for countless others. Her journey becomes a living example that fear may be loud, but faith is stronger. And when faith takes root, limitations that once seemed unmovable begin to crumble. So, faith is not just an idea. It is an action. It is choosing to believe when the odds are against you. Choosing to try again when failure knocks. Choosing to rise when the world pushes you down. Fear keeps women bound, but faith makes them unstoppable. And every time a woman chooses faith, she doesn't just lift herself, she lifts the world around her. Fear whispers doubts, while faith speaks of inner strength and resilience. Every human heart, and especially every woman's heart that carries so many roles at once, knows this inner battle well. Fear has a voice that is subtle but powerful. It never shouts, it whispers. And in those whispers, it plants questions. What if you are not good enough? What if they laugh at you? What if you fail miserably? What if you lose everything? These doubts grow louder in silence. When no one is watching, when insecurities creep in like shadows. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It feeds on the unknown, on the what-ifs that clutter the mind. A woman who wants to start a new business hears fear telling her she will lose her savings. A young mother considering returning to school hears fear telling her she cannot balance responsibilities. A leader wanting to speak against injustice hears fear telling her, stay quiet, stay safe. Fear's goal is to freeze action, to keep life small, and to make sure dreams remain only dreams. But opposite to this voice is the gentle yet unshakable voice of faith. Faith does not deny challenges. It simply interprets them differently. Where fear says, you can't, faith says, you can try and you can grow. Where fear says, you are alone, faith says, you are never truly alone. Where fear magnifies weakness, faith awakens resilience, the hidden power within every woman to endure, to rise, and to overcome. Resilience is not something taught in textbooks. It is something discovered in the furnace of difficulties. And faith is the companion that keeps resilience alive. Consider a woman facing rejection. Fear whispers, "You are not worthy." But faith says, "This rejection is redirection. Something better awaits." Think of a woman experiencing failure. Fear tells her, "Stop. It's over." But faith whispers, "Learn, grow, and rise again." Each time faith speaks, resilience grows stronger, like a muscle exercised in hardship. This inner conversation between fear and faith shapes destinies. Women who choose to listen to faith unlock a courage that was always inside them. Their resilience becomes visible not only in grand achievements, but also in small, daily victories, the strength to forgive when bitterness seems easier, in the patience to nurture when exhaustion sets in, the determination to keep moving when circumstances are heavy. Throughout history, great women have shown us that the whispers of faith are more powerful than the whispers of fear. They faced ridicule, opposition, even danger, yet they chose to lean into faith. Their resilience became a legacy for generations. And today, countless women continue that journey, refusing to be defined by fear's doubts, choosing instead to let faith define their future. So, the question is never whether fear will whisper. It always will. The real question is, which voice will you choose to believe? Because when faith speaks louder than fear, resilience awakens, courage rises, and women become unstoppable forces of hope, strength, and transformation. Choosing faith doesn't remove struggles, it gives courage to face them. Many people believe that faith means life will become easy, that difficulties will vanish, and that every path will be smooth. But that is a misunderstanding. Faith is not a shield that blocks storms. It is the strength to stand in the rain and believe the sun will shine again. It does not erase challenges. It empowers us to endure them with dignity, patience, and courage. Every woman, no matter her role or background, encounters struggles, emotional battles, financial pressures, family responsibilities, or professional obstacles. Fear often tempts her to give up, to hide, or to question her worth. But faith whispers a different message. You are stronger than this storm. This challenge is not here to destroy you. It is here to shape you. Faith reframes the struggle, transforming it from a burden into a stepping stone. Think of a woman who faces rejection in her career. Fear tells her she has failed, that her worth has been diminished. But faith encourages her to rise again, to keep learning, and to believe that rejection is redirection. Her struggle is not removed. She still faces the pain of disappointment. Yet faith gives her courage to take another step forward, and eventually, she discovers an opportunity greater than the one she lost. Consider also the woman navigating a family crisis, perhaps illness, conflict, or financial strain. Fear whispers that she is alone and powerless. But faith reminds her that she is supported by an inner strength she may not even know she has. The crisis does not disappear, but faith gives her resilience to endure sleepless nights, to continue loving when exhausted, and to hold her family together with hope. She may not escape the struggle, but she becomes stronger through it. This is the essence of faith. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of courage. Struggles test us, stretch us, and reveal who we truly are. Without faith, they can break us. With faith, they can make us. The same fire that burns wood into ashes also refines gold into purity. Struggles are that fire. And faith is what turns the flames into refinement instead of destruction. History gives us countless examples of women who carried heavy burdens but stood tall because of faith. They were not spared difficulties. They often faced greater ones than most. Yet their faith gave them courage to persist, to hope, and to act even when the outcome was uncertain. Their stories remind us that greatness is not measured by ease, but by endurance. Not by the absence of problems, but by the courage to face them. Even in everyday life, faith transforms ordinary struggles into extraordinary strength. A student anxious about her future, a young mother overwhelmed by responsibilities, a leader criticized for her decisions. None of them are free from challenges. But with faith, they keep moving forward. Faith becomes the quiet companion that says, one more step, just one more step, until suddenly the mountain that seemed impossible to climb stands conquered behind them. So struggles will always exist, but the difference lies in how they are faced. Fear makes them unbearable. Faith makes them meaningful. Fear weakens the heart. Faith strengthens it. And when a woman chooses faith, she does not escape life's storms. She learns to dance in the rain with courage, grace, and unshakable strength. History shows countless women who weren't fearless but were faithful. When we look back through time, the women who made the deepest impact on the world were not those who lived without fear, but those who chose to rise with faith despite their fear. Fear was present in their journey, yet it never had the final word. Faith became their compass, their strength, and their legacy. Fear is a natural emotion, no one escapes it. But the difference lies in what follows after fear knocks. Some retreat and surrender, while others take a breath, hold on to faith, and step forward anyway. These are the women history remembers, not because they never trembled, but because they acted even when their hearts were trembling. Think of women who fought for education in societies where it was denied to them. The fear of rejection, punishment, and ridicule surrounded them at every step. Yet faith whispered, "Your pursuit is not only for yourself, but for every daughter who comes after you." That faith gave them strength to persevere, and today, millions benefit from the doors they unlocked. Consider the women who raised their voices against injustice. Fear told them, "Stay silent, or you may lose everything." But faith reminded them, silence will cost even more. It will cost freedom, dignity, and the hope of future generations. Their faith gave them resilience to endure hardships. And though many were opposed, their names are now honored as pioneers of change. Even in the quiet corners of everyday life, History has countless unsung heroines who chose faith over fear. Mothers who held their families together during wars and crises, guiding their children with hope when fear was everywhere. Sisters who stepped into responsibility when tragedy struck. Women who endured personal loss but still chose to stand for others. They may not have been celebrated publicly, but their faith was no less powerful. Uplift did not erase their fears, it gave them courage to move through fear. This is an important lesson. Sometimes we imagine that great women were somehow different, born fearless and unshakable. But the truth is, they were human, just like us. They had doubts, they felt the weight of discouragement, and they battled with their insecurities. What set them apart was the choice to trust faith more than fear. And this same spirit continues today. Around the world, countless women face their own battles against poverty, inequality, injustice, or even personal struggles of self-doubt. Fear still whispers loudly, but faith gives them the determination to push forward, to create change, to keep going when the road is uncertain. They carry the same flame as those who came before them. So history is not just a record of fearless women, it is a living testimony of faithful women. Women who dared to believe that their actions mattered, even if the world doubted them. Women who proved that one choice rooted in faith can ripple through generations, shaping societies and inspiring countless others. Their courage was not the absence of fear, it was the presence of faith. Faith transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. Every person faces struggles, but what sets one apart is not the size of the problem, but the perspective with which it is faced. Challenges can feel like heavy stones blocking the path. Fear makes us sit down in front of those stones, defeated and paralyzed. But faith looks at the same stones and whispers, "This is not an ending. This is a step. This is a lesson. This is a chance to rise higher." When a woman carries faith in her heart, she begins to view hardships differently. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she learns to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of breaking under pressure, she discovers strength within her that she never knew existed. Faith does not deny the pain of challenges. It does not make difficulties vanish, but it changes the meaning we attach to them. And in that new meaning lies the power of growth. Imagine a woman facing rejection in her career. Fear tells her, "This is proof that you are not capable." But faith tells her, "This is redirection. Something better is waiting." The rejection that seemed like an end becomes an opportunity to explore a new path, to build resilience, and to sharpen her skills. Over time, what once felt like failure becomes the very stepping stone that leads her to success. Life's challenges often come uninvited. Loss, illness, betrayal, or financial struggles. In these moments, faith allows women to shift their gaze from despair to determination. Many great innovations, movements, and transformations in society were born out of struggles. Women who held on to faith during hardship turned their personal trials into collective victories. Their pain gave birth to purpose. Even in everyday life, small challenges test patience, endurance, and strength. A mother balancing responsibilities, a student battling self-doubt, a professional navigating pressures. Each challenge feels heavy. But faith transforms those weights into training grounds, building perseverance and shaping character. Every difficulty becomes like fire refining gold, making it stronger and purer. Faith also teaches women that challenges are not punishments, but invitations to grow. They are opportunities to discover hidden qualities like patience, creativity, courage, and resilience. Without challenges, these qualities often remain dormant. It is only in the face of struggle that faith awakens them. History is filled with examples of women who turned obstacles into opportunities. Those who were denied rights, education, or recognition did not allow challenges to silence them. Instead, faith empowered them to rise and carve a new path, not only for themselves, but for generations to come. Their struggles became seeds of transformation. Every challenge carries two possible outcomes: to shrink in fear or to grow in faith. The choice determines the story. Fear sees challenges as prisons. Faith sees them as classrooms. Fear says, "This will break you." Faith says, "This will shape you." And when women choose to believe in the shaping power of their struggles, they emerge not weaker, but stronger, not bitter, but wiser, not defeated, but victorious. Fear builds walls of hesitation. Faith builds bridges of possibilities. Every woman has dreams, ideas, or goals quietly resting in her heart. Yet often, before the first step is even taken, fear rises up like a wall. That wall is built out of hesitation, self-doubt, and imagined outcomes. What if I fail? What will people say? What if I am not enough? These questions stack one upon another until the wall feels too high to climb. And so, the dream remains locked behind it. Hesitation is fear's strongest weapon. It delays action, postpones decisions, and convinces us to wait for the perfect time. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. Waiting only strengthens the wall, making it more difficult to cross later. Many women with brilliance inside them never step forward because fear convinces them to stand still. Faith, however, does something different. Instead of building walls, faith lays down bridges. Where fear says, "You cannot go further," faith creates a path forward. It does not eliminate uncertainty, but it provides a way to cross it. A bridge is not built on guarantees. It is built on trust, courage, and vision. And when a woman chooses faith, she steps onto that bridge, even if she cannot yet see the other side. I fluke of the young woman who wants to begin a business. Fear tells her about all the risks: money lost, time wasted, failure waiting. The wall of hesitation grows taller with every "what if?" But faith builds a bridge instead. It tells her, take the step, learn along the way, trust your strength, and trust the process. The bridge may be shaky at first, but with every step, it grows stronger. Or consider the woman who feels called to speak her truth, to share her voice with the world. Fear whispers, you will be judged, you will be criticized, you will be rejected. That wall of hesitation keeps her silent. But faith says, your words matter. Even if some reject them, others will be healed by them. Faith creates a bridge that allows her voice to cross into hearts that need to hear it. The difference between a wall and a bridge is not in the challenge faced, but in the response chosen. Fear closes doors, faith opens them. Fear limits what is possible, faith expands it. Fear makes a woman shrink into the shadows, while faith invites her to walk into the light of her potential. Every possibility in life begins with a step of faith. The greatest inventions, the boldest movements, the most inspiring stories were all born when someone chose to cross a bridge of faith instead of standing before a wall of fear. And many of those someones were women who refused to let hesitation decide their destiny. So when fear says, build a wall and stay safe, faith answers, build a bridge and discover what lies ahead. And in that discovery, women find not just opportunities, but also the strength, wisdom, and courage that had been waiting within them all along. Faith not only uplifts women, but also inspires those around them. The power of faith is never limited to the person who carries it. When a woman chooses faith over fear, her life becomes a source of light, and that light naturally spills into the lives of others. It is like a lamp in a dark room. It does not shine only for itself. It shines so that everyone near it can see more clearly. When a woman stands strong in her faith, her family feels it first. Her children learn resilience not from her words, but from her actions. When they see their mother facing struggles with hope instead of despair, they carry that lesson in their own lives. Her strength becomes their foundation. Her belief becomes their example. And even in silence, she teaches them that faith is stronger than fear. Faith also influences relationships beyond the family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers are touched by the courage of a woman who chooses to believe instead of doubt. Imagine a woman facing rejection at work, but instead of giving up, she continues with determination and dignity. Others watching her gain courage for their own journeys. Her faith creates a ripple effect, reminding people that setbacks do not define destiny. Throughout history, this ripple effect has been powerful. Women who held on to faith in difficult times often sparked movements of change, giving others the courage to rise as well. A single act of faith, a word spoken, a step taken, a choice made, can ignite hope in the hearts of many. It is never just about one person. It is about everyone touched by that person's example. Even in small, quiet ways, faith spreads inspiration. Consider a woman going through illness. Fear would lead her to hopelessness, but faith helps her face each day with strength. Those around her, doctors, nurses, family members, friends, are moved by her courage. They find themselves believing more, not because of speeches, but because of the way she lives her reality with faith. This is why faith is not a private treasure. It is a gift that keeps giving. When a woman chooses faith, she lifts herself above her struggles, but she also gives others permission to believe that they too can overcome. Her story becomes a mirror in which others see their own potential. And perhaps the most beautiful part is that faith multiplies when shared. Just as one candle can light another without losing its flame, one woman's faith can ignite countless others without diminishing her own. What begins as a personal choice becomes a collective strength, spreading hope like wildfire. So when a woman chooses faith, she is not only lifting her own life, she is raising the lives of her children, her family, her friends, and sometimes even entire communities. She becomes a living reminder that faith is not only about survival, it is about inspiration, transformation, and the ability to awaken strength in others. When guided by faith, women become catalysts of change in families and societies. Faith is never passive. It is active energy that shapes decisions, actions, and character. When a woman allows faith to lead her life, she doesn't just transform her own journey. She becomes a force of transformation for everyone around her. Her choices, her courage, and her resilience ripple outward, influencing families, communities, and even entire societies. The family is the first place where this impact is seen. A woman guided by faith approaches challenges within her home with patience, strength, and vision. She does not deny the storms of life, but she stands as an anchor in the middle of them. Her faith sets the tone for the household, turning fear into hope, worry into trust, and weakness into strength. Children raised in such an atmosphere grow up learning not to surrender to fear, but to rely on faith. Her quiet yet consistent influence shapes future generations. Beyond the family, faith-driven women become powerful forces within society. History is filled with examples of women whose faith pushed them to stand against injustice, fight for education, or lead movements of change. They did not wait for the world to change before acting. They allowed their faith to guide them to be the change. And once they stepped forward, others followed. This is the power of faith. It turns ordinary individuals into extraordinary leaders. Not because they are free from fear, but because they trust in something greater than fear. In workplaces too, women guided by faith bring values of integrity, compassion, and perseverance. They create cultures of trust where people feel encouraged and uplifted. Their presence often inspires others to work with purpose rather than fear. Faith becomes not just a personal strength, but a collective strength that transforms environments. Societies progress when faith-filled women rise to leadership, whether as teachers shaping young minds, activists raising voices for justice, or mothers nurturing future leaders. Their influence is undeniable. They become catalysts because faith gives them the ability to see beyond limitations. Where others see problems, they see possibilities. Where others feel powerless, they find strength. And that perspective spreads to everyone they touch. Even in the smallest actions, women guided by faith spark change. A kind word to someone in despair, a decision to act ethically when shortcuts are easier, a choice to forgive when bitterness feels natural. These moments may seem simple, but they carry profound influence. They model for others what it means to live with courage and conviction. When fear guides, people shrink back. But when faith guides, people move forward and societies evolve. One woman choosing faith can inspire her family can influence a community, and that community can impact a nation. That is why faith is never just personal, it is deeply social. It spreads beyond the individual and becomes a force for collective transformation. So, when a woman walks guided by faith, she is not just carrying herself forward. She is carrying her family, her community, and her society into a future shaped by hope, courage, and progress. Her life becomes proof that true change begins not with resources or power, but with faith.